Hello and welcome back to this episode of Addicted to Business. Today we are joined by Google's award-winning digital marketing agency, Marcus, who is the owner and founder of Fountain, a Norwich agency. Welcome, Marcus.
Oh, well, thank you very much for having me here.
Thank you.
I was about to say welcome myself. But, that's what I do. I walk into a room and say welcome.
Thanks
it's
for being
good to
here.
be here. Yeah.
So today we're exploring the topic of when working in business, surrounding yourself with people, with good people. Let's strip it right back to the start. How did you start your journey, first of all, and when did you realise that it was a good thing to surround yourself with people?
Okay, so I started my journey. I was working in a bar in Tenerife in the 90s, so probably before you were born, mate.
Oh, I'll introduce myself, shall I?
I forgot to introduce
unbelievable.
I'm assuming this is episode 7, and they've
should
seen
know who we
him
are now,
already. I hope that
This is Nathan from Quickfire, just sat over there.
Carry on. So
Carry on.
you're in a bar in Madrid.
Okay, I was in a bar. My best friend at school, his dad owned a bar in Tenerife. We went out there in the summer as 14-year-olds to work there.
That's great.
It was, and the thing that's hilarious is, so back in the day, they used to have the Charity Shield, which I don't know what it's called these days, but it's the first game of the season, right? And and me and him were on top of the pub roof, because it's a flat roof in Spain, kicking a ball up against a massive satellite dish. So back in those days, satellite dishes were probably like the size of this room, right?
Right.
Come downstairs, everyone's panicking because everyone's coming to the pub for the football, and the football's not on, right? So his dad goes absolutely nuts, says, "What have you boys done?" and all the rest of it. We try and play it cool, and so, I don't know, may have been kicking a football up against it. Anyway, long story short, they get an engineer in, he fixes it just before people start leaving. And at the end of the game, he comes up to me, and this is back in the day when they had pesetas, but he had the equivalent of about £3,000 worth of money, and said, "Look at this, boys. This is what I would have lost if you guys had buggered this up and hadn't been able to fix it." And most people have thought, shit, I probably should be more careful. But I thought, wow, £3,000, that's more than my family earns in a month. And I kind of had to say to him, well, hold on a second, I'm sorry about all of this, but that's an intense amount of money. He goes, well, yeah, of course. That's why I run a business. Like, you'll never be rich working for another man. And at that point, at 14, I was like, right, so why would I ever want to work for someone else? And that kind of sat in with me. And then I wouldn't say he was a mentor because he really didn't like me. I was his son's mate that just got him into trouble,
Yeah.
broke satellite dishes and all sorts of stuff. But at that point, I started realising, okay, well, I didn't know any millionaires at that time apart from him. And I thought, right, well, if I want that, maybe I should go spend some time with them. Because the other thing is, I was a little bit arrogant. I was like, there's nothing special about this guy. He's just a Spanish dude that owns like a lot of bars and nightclubs who doesn't like me. But other than that, it's not like he had something special about him, but he just knew things that I didn't and stuff I wasn't learning at school.
Fine. So you've learnt your lesson. You've decided you want to go into business. Fountain partnership. How does it start? Where does it come about? I believe the stories are kind of you and your partner now, Rebecca, come together with this kind of concept, and it's around copywriting originally. Is that right?
Yeah, so fast forward, I go to UEA,
Yeah.
and I study philosophy, and I studied philosophy because I found it fascinating. But what it also gave me was lots of free time because it was 6 hours a week of lectures and seminars.
Is that why you chose it, really?
That's partly why a lot of people do humanities. That's kind of it. It's lots of time to read and drink and do other things. But first year I enjoyed myself. Second university I thought, right, if I'm going to start a business afterwards, I need to start investing my time. So I started going to business networking events, and in 2007 went to a place called the World Internet Summit. And it's one of those sort of personal development sort of, it's a free weekend seminar where they try and sell you courses. That, I don't know if you've ever been to like a Success Resources.
Yeah.
Some people listening and watching may have heard that. Sort of run to the back of the room and spend $2,000 on a course. And I didn't have $2,000 to spend on courses, but I went there and sucked up a lot of the free information. And the thing that seemed very obvious in 2007 is that digital marketing was going to be the future. Right. That it's, in terms of, if you're going to set up a business, setting up an online one is a lot cheaper and you can fail quicker and learn than trying to buy a load of stock and set up a shop or whatever. Where the copywriting came is I thought, well, I don't know anything about programming, and I haven't really figured out how to use Google ads or Facebook ads yet, so what can I do? Well, I'm learning to write at university, so let's just buy all the books on sales, copywriting, and start trying to figure out how to do that. So that's how it started. When I graduated, 2008, no one was really looking for philosophy grads. No one was looking for anyone, actually. The economy was in free fall. So at that point, I was like, well, let's just go freelance. And it's funny because I had complete imposter syndrome. Who the fuck's going to hire a philosophy grad to do some copywriting? So I said, listen, don't pay me unless I make you money. So that's it. It's a zero risk service for you. I will write your I'll write your direct marketing ads. I'll write your copy on your website. And we'll measure it, and we'll see if you get a return. If you do, pay me. If you don't. Funnily enough, because I put our neck on the line, we had to learn fast to, basically it was
to win.
Yeah, right. We had to get people results, or I couldn't pay myself.
And that results-based philosophy is something that you still very much carry today, right? Over at Fountain.
Oh, hugely. I mean, I think marketing has got a lot of smoke and mirrors around it because historically you couldn't measure everything. So
it's philosophy, I think.
Yeah. Well, the thing about philosophy, even though it sounds like a lot of fluff, actually, philosophy. I spent 3 years in a university with academics, and we were just discussing what's the case, like wanting to know what truth is, right? Yeah. So there was literally like no BS, and I think I took that approach into marketing. Like, is there any evidence for this? Yes or no?
Yeah.
And with digital marketing, all of a sudden we can measure stuff, and when you measure, you can improve, but also you can get some data, make some assumptions, and forecast to reduce risk. So that's actually been our approach: is reduce risk up front, because we can go, well, how many customers do you want? How much do you want to pay for them? What's the cost of getting them to a website? What percentage of them need to buy to make sure it fits within your cost per acquisition? And if that's likely to happen, go ahead. If it's unlikely, don't do it.
So let's dive in.
Yeah, please.
So the story of Fountain's been remarkable, and if you're watching or reading this and you haven't seen the Fountain story, I encourage you to go and see some of Marcus's videos online. Go and see one of his team speak and hear about the Fountain journey, because it has been one of Norwich's greatest success stories over recent times. However, today we're not going to talk so much about Fountain. We're going to talk about some of the principles that got you personally as Marcus to be where you are today.
Sure.
Okay, yeah. and a lot of that has come through learning and mentoring and reading, and we'll go through each of those. But a little story, about 3 years ago, I had no idea who this guy was. And I dropped him a message on Facebook because I'd seen the Fountain story and I'd seen the Marcus story. And sure enough, you replied. And we went for coffee, and we've basically done lunch every single month since.
Yeah.
So my question is, what I'd encourage anyone to do that's watching or listening is, don't be afraid to reach out, no matter how, and totally transparent. At the time, this guy, Marcus, seemed untouchable, right? It was like, how do I get it? How on earth could I speak to this man? Why would he want to give up his time to speak to me? He's running a successful business. But I think the important lesson here is that there are people more than willing to give up time, right? If you reach out and you're prepared to be sincere and be transparent and show humility and honesty and all those good things. Like,
we're all human at the end of the day.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
And so why did you say yes? And where did you learn that from? Like, that's not something that's taught, right? That's something you must have had some kind of ingrained belief that you want to pay it forwards or help others. Tell me a bit more about that.
So I want to say yes, because you'll be amazed most people don't reach out. Like, the way they reach out is they go to contact at fountainpartnership.co.uk and send their CV and hope for the best.
Yeah.
And that's it. Whereas maybe once a year someone will actually bother direct messaging me and say,
you're going to be bombarded now, by the way.
Sending loads.
You say that, but I bet you I won't, because I think a lot of people watch and not enough people pull the trigger and take action. A lot of people go, that sounds like a good idea, but they don't actually do it. And I think that's why you've grown quickfire from nothing to being 20 people in 2 or 3 years, because you actually take action in the world. And that's the big difference, right? It's the people that go out and actually do something rather than spend a lot of time thinking about it. But the reason I came back to you is because you seem genuine. You also promised me a free lunch, and that's the thing I'd say. It's hilarious, but everyone's got to eat. I was saying to my marketing manager the other day, she was like, "I want to get in front of these people," so we have lots of train companies, believe it or not, that we do their marketing for, and we seem to do very well for them. So we want to work with other train companies. Yeah. There's only maybe like 40 train marketing managers in the country we can work with. So we've got their lists, and it's like, what should we do I was like, let's just message them and say, let's take you for lunch at your favourite restaurant. Because everyone's got a favourite restaurant. Yeah. Everyone's got to eat.
Yeah.
And let's just have a conversation.
Everyone loves food.
Right.
Especially free food.
Yeah. So you kind of, you took me to the Maid's Head for, I think it was for coffee initially, and then lunch.
It's a really fancy restaurant, right?
Yeah, of course. But it's right next to my offices. It was like,
it was convenient. That's the main thing. It wasn't like a nuisance, right?
Absolutely. It was convenient and it was fine, and you were really good. And you also asked me, what's important to me, what's going on. And so I'm looking for speaking gigs, and you got me a speaking gig within a few months. it wasn't a
Let's not talk about that one.
no. Let's just say I turned up and there wasn't a projector for my laptop and a few other challenges.
Right.
Having said that, though, it's the intention, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. It's what my mentor Spencer taught me, to actually just find out what people's challenges are in the world. Like, what's your biggest challenge in business right now? Probably won't be to use my services, but the chances are I know someone in my network who could probably help. And by putting those two people in touch, providing it's useful for both parties, there's a sense of reciprocation.
Yeah.
And both of them happy with you, right?
Yeah.
I think your network is an asset that every time you draw on it, it goes up in value.
Yeah.
And like any other asset, you draw on it, it goes down almost.
Yeah.
Just connecting people. And
So creating that feeling of feeling indebted is something you've always taught me. And it's interesting you mentioned your mentor, Spencer, because ever since that day 3 odd years ago now, you've kind of unofficially, and I mean we've never labelled it as such, but you have mentored me, right? We've gone for lunch, we continue to go for lunch, and I sit there and bring you my challenges, and you help me kind of work through them and try and solve them, and so mentorship's hugely important, and I strongly believe we wouldn't be where we are today without that guidance. So thank you. But I'm interested to hear about your relationship with Spencer. How did you meet Spencer, and what kind of guidance has he given you to grow Fountain?
Yeah, so I went to a thing called the Agency Collective. We're about 5 years ago, about $500,000 turnover. We're now 2.5, so we're sort of fifth of the size we were then. And I was really trying to break that £1 million turnover mark. And there was a guy giving a talk called Spencer Gallagher, who grew his agency from nothing, from his shed in 1996.
Who wrote this book?
Agency Nomics. Yeah, big shout out to
Another plug.
and Pete, who's in business with now, who was with him at the time. But they took their business from nothing to I think 12 million by the time they'd exited. And that they've been there and done
Cactus,
it. They've got the T-shirt, Cactus,
the
original
Blue Halo at the time.
Right?
Right.
Blue Halo, the company. But anyway, I heard him speak, and like you did, just reached out.
Yeah.
And I said, look, it'd be great to chat. And he just said, listen, I only work with agencies over $1 million turnover. But you know what? I'll give you half an hour of my time whilst he was driving. And it was the funny thing is, and he said this, he was actually on his Agency Nomics cast. He was speaking to Rebecca.
I saw that. Yeah.
My other half, and he was telling the story that he spoke to me and Rob on the phone, and he said, right, here are the 3 things you guys should do, and we just did them. And a year later, we rang him and said, yeah, we're at $1 million now. Now what? And he was quite blown away. But it's just,
I love that.
He was right though, and one of them was double your prices.
Right.
It's like double your prices, set targets, and then hire someone to keep you accountable.
Let's go into each of those, because anyone listening today, that's a hugely daunting task, right? Just very, not blasé, because I understand why he said it, but saying double your prices, I'm sure you and Rob thought, Christ, this is Norwich, this isn't London, right? This must be tough.
And that's true. That's why we then had to move to, a lot of operations to London ultimately. We had to go, right, now we need to go fishing in London, because, Norwich won't pay you day rates more than sort of 600. Whereas we want £1,200 day rates, we need to go to London. So we did.
Yeah.
But the thing is, he evidenced it. If people listening going, well, I can't double my rates because the market won't have it, that's fair enough. But he evidenced it and said, look, there are shitty one-man bands doing what you do in Newcastle, charging £1,000 a day. Fucking double them. I think that was word for word, right?
Quote
so
Spencer Gallagher.
Nothing against Geordies, but I'm from the south and I have a bit of I've been called Southern Fairy quite a lot. But I like to think that if they're charging that much in Newcastle, I can charge that much in Norwich.
Yeah.
So that was it. But
so that was point 1, was double your prices.
Yep.
Just go over those other 2 again.
Is set goals.
Set goals, fine. So you need an end goal.
Well, it's interesting. It's so funny. I felt really dumb because I do this for my clients.
Yeah.
I say, what does success look like? What does begin with the end in mind? Where's Mr. Stephen R. Covey there, right?
Yeah.
I begin with the end in mind. So I say to people, look, how many customers do you want? How much do you want to pay for them, right? So what's the outcome? What do you want in 12 months? And then we set a target for each month to hit the annual goal. And that's pretty much what Spencer did. He said, right, okay, where do you want to be? £1 million turnover. Okay, so that's 84 grand a month. Fine, but this month you're on 40k. Yeah. So next month get to 50, 60, so on, and then
we're doing it. We're sorry, Adam's behind the camera.
Yeah.
We're doing it now, and it's been so powerful. Because I see it. It's probably the same as you, Nathan. See it as a bit of a game. So I'm like, right, this is our monthly target. I want to beat that. I want to smash it. And January, that was the first time we ever set a monthly target properly and stuck to it, and we've beat it with 2 weeks to go.
Perfect.
And it's great. It's so valuable. And now next month's a little bit higher and a little bit higher, and now we know what we want to get at the end of the year, and hopefully we'll be at that by the end of the year. But it works.
It really does. I think the thing you need to do, obviously, is just recalibrate when there will be months when you don't hit it, or quarters and so on, and try and bring it back. And it's but by having that, and it's so obvious, I do it for my clients. But that whole have a goal, begin with the end in mind. all the business is essentially a gap analysis. Where are we now? Where do we want to be? And what has to happen to get to where we want to be? And those incremental improvements. And that was it.
So for anyone listening, set realistic goals and kind of turnover goals, profit goals.
You probably both. Start with revenue, keep it simple. So turnover goals, because profit can vary, and you may want to have a thin profit for a few months to reinvest. So
and what was the third one?
Get someone to keep you accountable. And that,
fine.
So that was Neil Foley.
He's on one of the podcasts coming up, and
I love
Uncle Neil. Great.
He's brilliant, and he's been there and done it. You know, he grew. He's run huge teams as client side. But he had an IFA firm. I think he grew to 50 or 60 staff, and then exited. And he's the sort of guy that could retire, but doesn't need to. That's what he does, right? But he's straight talking, and he kept us. He came to the board meetings once a month and said, "Well, I haven't hit your targets," and we had to give the reasons why, and said, and not in a sort of accusatory, "you're shit" kind of way. It's like, why haven't you done it? Okay, well,
actually, sort of thinking about it. What's the structure? What's the missing link here?
So why did we think we could get it and we haven't? What changed? Some root cause analysis. What changed? What are the assumptions that was based on? What Neil does there is very good, and I won't take too much away from him, but he just helps you put systems in for getting more leads, increasing sales conversion rate, and getting more from your existing customer base. And when you get positive feedback loops on those three areas, the growth compounds.
Yeah, almost exponential growth.
Yeah, but I won't touch on too much more than that because I don't want to.
That's fine. So we've talked about Neil and we've talked about Spencer, and I appreciate we could talk all day, and there's so much value to get out, which I want to share with the kind of viewers. So the big topic, or the overarching topic today, was around surrounding yourself with the right people. Because for me, when it reached out to you, it was trying to surround myself with people. And the model that you shared with me was the plus equals minus model. Perhaps you could just share with the listeners what that means, and then how you've implemented that in your life.
Yeah, so I got this from a book, one of Ryan Holiday's ones, I think, Ego's Enemy. So Ryan Holiday's got Obstacles Away, Ego's Enemy. I think it actually came from an MMA fighter, believe it or not. Okay. I forget which one it was. But anyway, he said that the true way to mastery is what he calls the plus equals minus model. So you need a mentor who's been and done exactly what you want to do. Not like, that they're rich or they've made money. It's kind of like, if you want to grow a particular agency, then you need someone who's done exactly that. So the plus. The equals is you just need peers, right? Just people that are on the same path as you, just to check in and just, discuss the sort of things, perhaps discussing with your mentor, but get the real-time sort of feedback of what it's actually like. And then the minus is actually you need to teach yourself, right? The best way to learn is to teach. But when you do all three, so if you're throughout a month, you've got a mentor who's keeping you true, who's helping you see things in a new way. You've got peers that you can discuss it with at the same time. And then you can teach all the stuff you've learned and the stuff you learned way back when. To new people coming up, that just gives you a fuller sense of mastery, and that seems to work for me, and it also helps you feel more fulfilled. You're learning and you're teaching at the same time, and you're working with people, so it ticks all those boxes.
So one of Spencer, one of your mentors, kind of holy grail kind of philosophies is the kind of activity, the 50 conversations, right? And again, I don't want to give too much away of Spencer's methodology as well, because he's got a great book which people can buy, and we'll put a link in the let's plug it again. We'll put it in the comments and people can have a look. But essentially, one of those is around 50 conversations. That stems back to surrounding yourself with the right people and having those meaningful conversations. And so how did you manage to do that? Because now you spend a lot of your time speaking to, well, less today, but certainly last year and the year before, a lot of your time was spent having many conversations with many different interesting people.
Yeah, and I think we need to be careful with many, because I think what I see a lot of networking is people just having lots of conversations that are just like, 2 centimeters deep rather than 2 meters.
Is it quality rather than quantity?
Yeah, and also going into it from a sense of, I want to sell to you. And I think what Spencer means when he says meaningful, and what I've known to be true is meaningful, is actually just really connecting with people with absolutely no intention, and just really connecting and listening. And when you ask what their biggest challenges in business, it's just because you really give a shit about that person. And I was chatting to my she's our managing director designate. She's coming, Alice, about this just now, and just said, listen, Alice, think about it. Like, you're doing a bit more networking now. How many coffees have you had with people in business over the last 2 years? She said, I don't know, 300. I said, yeah. And how many do you actually remember? And you've kind of, actually felt like, God, that person really gets me. They care about me. They've actually followed up and tried to help. I really want to, I feel a sense of reciprocation. I feel a real connection with them. She's like, 5. I was like, right, be one of those 5 for other people. And she really got that. She goes, shit, yeah. Because it's so easy. Just
it's a two-way conversation, isn't it? Essentially.
It is. But I think almost like you can almost make it a one-way with them.
I was going to say, let's build on that, because another one of the things I've learned from Spencer in particular was So again, having you guys met Spencer and then introduced him to myself, and one thing he was saying is almost that first conversation is never really about you.
No.
It's kind of like find out their biggest pain point, find out their 3 a.m. problem, find out what keeps them up at night, help them solve it. But actually, it's just ask questions. So whenever you're networking, a lot of these networking events you guys listening and watching may go to, you'll get a set period of time. Yeah, you get like, I don't know, it might be 60 seconds, it might be a minute, a couple of minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, whatever. But it's like, how can you spend that time literally finding out everything about them? And some personal stuff as well in terms of, have you got family? How can you relate, right? How can you get to common ground as quickly as possible? Because that's when you can start to have interesting conversations, build rapport and trust and relationship, and then the sale can come at a later point.
I'd almost say, like, I'll tell you a sort of side story. So Rebecca's mum met the Dalai Lama, and she works out in a college in America, and Dalai Lama gives a talk, and the first question is such an American question. It's like, "Your Holiness, what's the quickest way to enlightenment?" He just goes, "What's wrong with you Westerners? Why do you find the quickest way to everything?" And I think something in you said there, like, I would almost say there isn't a quick way. If you've got 2 minutes in a network, and you can't get deep with people, but what you can do is just say, "Hey, look, let's grab a coffee." Like for me, I want a proper hour with someone and just get to know them. And sometimes people open up, like when you can move beyond business to kind of just, getting into personal space and just find out, like you say, what their challenges are. But from I actually care about you as a human being. There is no agenda here. I'm not trying to sell to you. Yeah. It's a much nicer way to go about the world. And you actually, even if you don't get any business, you've at least tried to help someone or they felt listened to. And that's pretty cool.
And the power of the follow-up, right? Because so many people will take the time to maybe have an hour's conversation. You find the pain points. You go through that activity, but then you don't follow up with helping to solve the problem. Yeah, you just listen to the problem. Great, you've been a sounding board, but actually, like when we first met, right? I would like to get more public speaking. Then you have to make it your mission to go and solve that problem, because if you do, that's when the real powerful relationships start to build.
Yeah, and I think that's it. You just it's tricky because obviously there's how much work do you do? And if you've been part of BNI, right?
Yeah,
there's give us gain, and you're like, you get to a stage where you have a one-to-one, you're almost out selling someone else's product. You're like, hold on, but I think normally it happens naturally after a certain level of networking that you need to practically think about your network, right? I think we have a network that we seem to be born with, the school we went to, the university we went to, but actually, I sometimes look at my network and go, you know what, I really, I don't have a really good solicitor for agencies. I don't know anyone. So I'll ask someone, who's the best solicitor for agencies? Yeah. Oh, this guy, okay. And I go see them. But so you're proactively thinking who you'd love to have. Yeah. And the nice thing is now Fountain's 11 years old. I've got that little black book.
Almost built your dream team, right?
Yeah, and I'm still aiming to it. But then it's so much easier when I meet someone like you and you're like, God, this client won't pay. Like, I need a solicitor. My one's just not giving me any help. Like, who's the best person to get clients to pay up? Oh, I know that guy. Look,
having a relationship with them in the first place is actually key. I mean, me and Adam have been going through this recently. We've obviously got a bank, like most businesses do, but we don't know anyone at our banks. We don't know our bank manager. We don't know anyone. So we're changing banks and visiting bank managers in Norwich to get to know a bank manager, because we know that there might be a time or a place when we need money fast. So if we know our bank manager, and we have a good relationship with our bank manager, then that process is going to happen easier, and we've got that in our back pocket then. So
absolutely. And with business, you get a bank manager. What you get once you get in a good relationship with them, you've got their personal mobile. You can pick up and say, look,
need some advice.
Right, like Alex or Dale in my case, like, look, look, people aren't paying, we need some help. You're entirely right. You need to get that. But it takes time to build it, but it's just such a good investment.
It's so important. I always say this. My friend always says this to me. He goes, I've got a guy for everything. He goes, I need McCastle and I've got a guy. And we had it the other day. We were going to pitch to an estate agent, and me and Adam were arguing about something about how they make their money, etc. And I just called my friend up who owns an estate and letting agents, and it's like, right, can you tell us the answer to this? And it solved it in 5 minutes. And then we went in the pitch actually with the right information rather than the wrong information. And that's because, we have a guy for that, and we've built up the relationships that we can rely upon.
And I think it goes back to that sort of cliche that your network is your net worth. That you probably won that work with the estate agents because they go, these guys get me. They get what my pain points are. They understand, cool, they're going to help me solve my problems. Whereas if you came in with a load of assumptions, just everyone's trying to be sold to by someone that's like trying to sell you with problems that you don't really have. You're like, that's not relevant. So that makes
Marcus,
complete sense.
Of your things I've kind of found out about you over the time of meeting you is your kind of, I wouldn't say obsession, but your desire to always learn more.
Yes.
Right, you are always reading. and you've got a lovely thing where you're always sending books, and this bookshelf is probably maybe going to be renamed the Marcus Hemsley shelf.
You said you've read every single book on here.
It's got to be pretty close, right?
Most, yeah, I'd say, yeah.
So why do you find it so important to read, and what is it you get out of reading? And then finally, what is the best book, and I think I know the answer, that you could recommend for someone to read?
Well, it depends what you want to do, I guess. It's,
I just want to talk about Ray Dalio, because I love the story about Ray.
Yeah, I love Ray Dalio.
Well, he is the king, right? You love him. I'm going to include his book in the comments here, because it's a great book. Dalio's Bible is...
Yeah. It's funny, I found my 5-year-old son, he threw Dalio's Principles on the floor. I walked in this morning, and I picked it up, and it was dusty. I was like, this is a fucking Bible. This is like my holy book. Although I would say, like, if you're a startup, Dalio probably isn't right for you.
Yeah,
because it's once you've got a business and you've got staff and you're kind of a certain size, then Dalio's Principles is really powerful. Having said that, I mean, the stuff on life is really good.
Yeah. Okay, so Dalio's Principles is maybe middle level.
Yeah.
Can you remember like a book that was good for startup? Or is it the Lean Startup, or is it the Think and Grow Rich? Yeah,
that's probably and interestingly enough, this is probably one of the first books I read back when I've still got my copy when I was about 15 and I was tending bars in Tenerife, but in this he talks about mastermind groups, right? And I think he came up with do you know the story of Napoleon Hill and Think and Grow Rich? Do you guys not know this?
No.
Jesus Christ, okay, this is quite
You're educating the audience and us.
Yeah.
Okay, right. So I mean, who do you think probably one's the greatest entrepreneurs of all time, do you think? This is going back in history.
Oh, gosh.
I'll save you some time.
We've got a finite time.
Right, fine.
Just silence.
In theory, Andrew Carnegie is probably up there with Rockefeller, right? Okay. A lot of half the I think the libraries in the UK says built by money from Andrew Carnegie, right? So he was a Scottish steel magnate in the early sort of 1900s. He employed a young journalist called Napoleon Hill to find out the secrets of success in the early 1900s, right? So he went round, and if you look at the opening, it's kind of like he interviewed Thomas Edison and Henry Ford and all of these titans, right? And Napoleon Hill would release a journal at the end of each year, and they would call it the Secrets of Success. And this was in the early 1920s, right? And he became a millionaire himself. And then 1929, what happened? Well, there was the crash. Yeah. He lost all his money. So he spent 8 years going through all of his journals on the Secrets of Success, interviewing hundreds of the most successful people at the time, and condensed it into one book.
God, this took some time.
Think and Grow Rich.
And that's the book.
Wow.
So, but he talks in this about the mastermind group, but he also coined the sort of the cliche in business that, you know, your net worth is the same as the 5 people you hang around with the most.
Yeah.
And that I think is probably sums up the core essence of what you're saying in this podcast is, if you want to be a millionaire, hang out with millionaires. If you want to be a billionaire, go hang out with billionaires. I personally don't want to be a billionaire. I'd like if someone gave me $1 billion, that'd be fun. But I don't want that level of responsibility yet. Yeah. And the people I want to have lives like are people probably like Uncle Neil Foley or Spencer Gallagher. So the mentors are the people I look at them and say, yeah, I want to be like you in 20 years' time in terms of level of wealth and lifestyle and so on. So I hang out with them.
What happens, and we'll just build on that a little bit, because sometimes when you're growing a business, and if you're at the start of your journey, you start to go through periods of time where the friends you perhaps used to hang out with, or the people or the business associates, whatever, they change over time, right?
Yeah.
And that's been a really difficult journey, is to say, actually, there's some friends, and still my greatest friends, most of them living in London, you kind of take your business hat off, right, and you go back to how you were, and they're your friends outside of work. But certainly in business, like you say, the core 5 people you spend time with when you start will most likely be different to the 5 at the end.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I think that's true. Obviously, don't cut people out cold.
Sure.
But, I mean, you do. I mean, the trouble is when you start business, you're naturally doing 60, 70 hours a week anyway. Yeah. So you're not going to, you're going to be hanging out with business people. But I think it's just reaching out. I think the core thing you've said to people, the ones who are, who are watching this essentially at the beginning of their journey, is to reach out to people who are 10 years on their journey. And I'm reaching out to people who are 20 years. Like,
exactly.
Arnold Schwarzenegger sort of had his quote that he changed up mentors every 2 years. So he basically found a mentor on the bodybuilding side of things, and then got better than them, and then traded them in for the next guy, and just went on like that.
Consistently went up.
Yeah, no, Ozzy Arnie did other stuff in politics and film and all sorts.
He's nearly the president, wasn't he?
Yeah, he's covered there.
All in good time.
Right, no, he was right, and he just said. But I mean, if you want to be, if you want the success, I mean, I did Tony Robbins' Unleash the Power Within, like 3-4 years ago, and some I wasn't sure about, but the big thing that stuck with me is 3 principles for success. If you want to achieve anything, just use these 3 steps. So step 1 is have a big, hairy, audacious goal, which we kind of get. Yeah, right. I want to be a multi-millionaire or something. 30. Fine. Step number 2, go all in. Well, of course, right? If
Yeah.
you're going to spend half your time getting drunk or whatever, you probably won't.
Yeah, you've got to focus.
all in.
Yeah.
Most people do steps 1 and 2,
Mm.
and that's why most people don't become multimillionaires by the time they're 30. But so most people miss step 3, and step 3 is find a mentor, a coach, and a blueprint of someone who's done exactly the same thing before, and that's it. That's missing.
And that's the thing in many industries, and people watching, they go, okay, well, we don't run agencies. That's fine, but within your sector, there will be someone that's created that. But most likely, someone that's created that blueprint.
Yeah, I was advising someone who ran a charity once, and she was like, "Oh, I'm going to get this non-exec, and he's made all this money at Cadbury's or whatever." And I was like, "Yeah, like he's rich and he's successful, but he's never run a charity." And like I said, "Listen, like who's the person who's scaled up or run a charity the size that you want it to be?" And she's like, "Actually, yeah, there's this guy who's literally just retired who's run this really big charity. It's really similar to what I want to do." I was like, "Go get him.
Yeah.
There's no one else."
Doesn't matter how much money he's got.
Yeah.
He's done it. He's done the journey.
Exactly, because it's kind of like you can't. There's so much of the nuance and little things you learn throughout the year that just comes out of your unconscious when someone asks you the question. That if you've been at Cadbury's, you can't help, right? So I think that's the thing. Literally find that person. Like so, Spencer and Pete, point at the book again. Those guys are based in Hampshire, right?
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, again, the problem with networks is they happen by haphazard luck.
Yeah.
I'm in Norwich, so I'm going to get you as my non-exec because you're a successful person in Norwich. Well, fuck that. Who's the best person in the world? Who's numero uno in the world?
Yeah.
That's what
Be
we've always
your
said, right? Go
non-exec
to the
and
top.
mentor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then work your way down, right?
Yeah.
I'd
The
love
middle
way down
ground's so
there.
saturated, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so many people are like, okay, I'll go for the CEO's assistant, and try and
Yeah.
reach her. But actually, no one's contacting the CEO because everyone thinks that everyone's contacting him, but actually, no one is. So
Yeah. And not that I'm a CEO, but or the sort of level you're probably alluding to. But when you contact me, Nathan, you're the only guy that's done that. And a lot of time, at that moment, I was speaking at West Suffolk College. I was speaking at UEA quite a lot. And all that happens, I just got, "Dear sir, please find attached my CV." But that was it. And it's not being funny, but like that, we get that every day. We get every day people want to work for us, and that's nice. But there's only 40 at the minute, and we're really selective. But if someone says, "Hey, look, Marcus, where's your favourite restaurant? Let me take you for lunch," then I'm not trying to get free lunches now.
free lunch every day for the next month.
Yeah. But you know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
It's like, hey,
No.
it's like, and you're the only person to do that.
Standing out of the box,
Yeah, just stand out. I think it's really important. So going back and trying to keep on topic, because there's so many tangents we could go down.
Sure.
But I want to really focus on this piece around surrounding yourself and bettering yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So we've talked about a lot of reading you've done. We've talked around the people you surround yourself with. Another thing I want to talk about is the personal development journey.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a guy that we've had the wonderful opportunity to work with and continue to work with, and you guys have worked close with, and that's Michael Neal.
Oh yeah.
And Michael, his content is something else where there's this whole business thing, right? And we have to surround ourselves with the right people, and we have to follow the blueprint and all that good stuff. But actually, you also almost run simultaneously a life.
Yeah.
Right, you run a life alongside the business. So let's just touch upon that. How do you surround yourself with, because the people you surround yourself with in the business might not be the same 5 people that are right to surround yourself with in your life.
Yeah.
How do you establish those 5 and what kind of principles do you follow there?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say something really obvious, and everyone's going to be like, "That's not useful," but it really is. Like, if someone's intoxicating and horrible and just drains you. Like, there are multipliers and there are drainers in this world. Like, who are the people that after you spent time with, like you, like, I mean, I see you as a multiplier, and what I mean by that is that, like, I was quite tired coming here today. I've been in back-to-back meetings. It's later on in the day, but we're having a nice conversation. I feel energized, and you as well. Like, you guys, you give me energy. So I spend more time with people like you. There are some people that we have in our lives that every time we interact with them, we just feel tired, drained, or whatever. It's kind of, that's just it. You know intuitively who are the people you should be spending less time with.
It's tough, right? Because some of those people can be quite close to you. Yes, some of those people that do drain you, and I won't throw them under the bus, but they can be family and very close friends.
Yeah.
And that's an incredible journey to go on. To say, actually, I'm going to have to distance myself from someone that's possibly got me this far, and that's remarkable.
Yeah, I've got no enemies, no one I'm not speaking to that I've cut out, but there are people you just kind of fade away a bit from, and the truth is, when you go on this journey anyway, the most important word is no. There's another book I'm going to recommend, Essentialism, right? And that just says, because the trouble is, there's too many opportunities, there's too much, there's too much. We're a hyper-stimulated society. So in it, he talks about the 90% rule. There's no more yes anymore. So you're not saying yes to anything more Stokesy. It's either hell yeah, I'm fucking up for this, or it's no. Everything else is no. Unless you're 90% plus excited, you say no.
Yeah.
Well, how much space will that give you in your life, right? And then with that space, you can actually be selective to go after the things that really matter and spend time with the people that really matter.
Yeah.
Because actually, life's just a series of moments, and if you're not enjoying those current moments, then what are you doing?
And that's something really important for the people listening, is that I guess they're all wrapped up in their own businesses, and hopefully they're maybe listening to this in the car or in a brief while they're cooking or whatever. But actually, it's so hard. And we'll talk about this on a few other of the podcasts in this series, that you spend so much time chasing something and striving for perfection. And I've had many conversations with you about this, about how I'm always wanting the next thing. And we're competitive by nature, right? As an entrepreneur, founder, whatever, you always want the next thing. But actually, Christ, sometimes you just need to sit and think, you know what? Like, bit of context, life's all right. And we've come a hell of a long way.
It's the energy you bring to it, right? Again, just follow. Like, if you're fucking loving the hustle and rush after it, and it's playful and it's fun and it's exciting, then keep doing that. But if you're having to and I've been in bad places. Like at one point, I decided to join the 3 a.m. Entrepreneurs Club and get up at 3 a.m. to start hustling and grinding.
3 a.m.
I used to punch myself in the head. Right? No, seriously, the alarm would go off. I'm like, I'm not getting up. So I would punch myself in the head. Fuck you, Gary V. He's the guy. Right?
Tag him in.
Yeah, fuck you, Gary V. Like, you're just causing a breakdown. Right, so I've tried all that sort of hustle porn, like rise and grind and get up and smash yourself in the head to get going, and it's like, bollocks. Like, now, I said to you, you were amazed when I said I don't have an alarm clock.
This is remarkable. Anyone listening? Marcus has no alarm clock. I've never met anyone. I have 7 alarms that go off, one every minute, from like 7 to 7:30. And they all hit snooze as well, so they go off like 3-4 times. No alarms. Remarkable.
I go to bed 11:30, wake up about 7:30, and that's it.
I guess the body clock by now, when you get into the habit, but surely the first few weeks you must be getting up at 10, 11, and...
No, I think, mate, you wait till you get to your 30s. I can't lie in. You get to a certain age where you just can't lie in anymore. Like 9 o'clock's like a lie-in. But I think,
especially with a 5-year-old child. Right?
Yes, that's exactly. It won't let me sleep much longer. But I think that's the thing of, like, literally, it's just follow your energy. It feels good and exciting. Go with it. If you're feeling a bit shitty, then take a break. Yeah. Genuinely, there is honestly, like, the amount of people that we meet in business that are going through burnout at the minute.
They don't even know it, right? And it can wait. And that's one thing you've been really good at in teaching me, is a lot of this stuff can wait. Emails are a classic. There'll be people listening today, and I'm just as guilty as the next person.
I am too.
It's like a checklist, right? And you go, I cannot sleep until this email is answered, right? I cannot. And every 20 minutes, I'm checking the phone going, oh, what about if someone's emailed me? Like, if it's that urgent, they're probably cool. Like, they could just call me or call the office to speak to one of my team. Like,
when you die, your inbox is going to be full.
Yeah.
And someone else is going to clean it out for you. Like, that sounds really morbid.
That is
so true.
Like, you're never going to be finished with, like, and it's pointless. It really is. So it's a thing of, I noticed that like, my big dream was like, I just want to have a business that turns over $1 million, and in service business that's quite high compared to product, right? And I got there and I was like, oh, it just takes time. And then we got to 2 million, and now we're on the way to 3. And I realized, oh, it's just time. And it's like, oh, so I don't have to fucking panic. Like, you put the systems in place and you just consistently work, but from a place of I'm enjoying every day rather than this is a grind and one day I'm going to... Like, it's the people that want to become millionaires so they can sit around and just be students again. Like, that's just not sustainable. They're going to burn out and be miserable.
Yeah, there's no...
That's saying no, though, isn't it, as well? That's the same 100%. Thing. It's like, I'm saying no to me working more. I'm saying no to getting up at 3 a.m. and doing what someone else is doing. Yeah, saying no.
Like, I thought I had to do that shit to be successful because I watched a lot of stuff online. But actually, it's kind of like what does success look like for me? What's my dream life? It's like, okay, I want to, I want to make 10K a month after tax a month, and I want to work like 30 hours a week. Well, let's build a business that does that, right? Or actually, I want to retire at 40, so let's scale it up and exit. Whatever that might be for you.
Yeah.
How much do you want to earn a month? How many hours do you want to work? And then just do that.
Which goes back to setting end goals.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
but your end goals, you don't want to buy the jets like Mr. Gary V, or whatever.
Oh, Gary said a battery, isn't it? Apparently he's a reformed man.
Fuck him. No. He's fine.
Come on, Gary, get on here.
Get VaynerMedia.
Gary V. Marcus.
I just kind of think he's trying to fill a hole in his life, and I want to give you a hug, Gary. That's all I say. It's okay. You don't have to buy the jets. You're perfect anyway.
Okay, so I hope everyone's got a lot of value out of that. Marcus, we could talk for hours, and I appreciate your time and appreciate you're incredibly busy. I just wanted to say thank you to those that have watched and listened. I hope you've enjoyed it. And finally, thank you too, Marcus, because the journey you've helped Quickfire go on in the last 3 years has been remarkable. And I know you're incredibly humble and would never like to admit it, but that journey couldn't have happened without people like yourself. So thank you.
Thanks,
And
mate.
and I look forward to the next however many years. So thank you.